Hey everyone, just let me know if you can hear me in the chat. Just type in yes or no. Make sure this is working, video is working, everyone can see the first time home buyers class screen. Hi Cassie. So we got another 3 minutes or so before we go. There'll be a bunch of people hopping on. So while you're in here at the start, just let me know where you're from, how you found out about this place. If you're from Saskatoon, let me know which area you're from, how you found out about this webinar, things like that. So yeah, as we go along, if anybody has any questions as we go in, just throw it in the chat. I'll try to get to them as I go through this. If not, there's a big Q&A at the very end. If they're more personalized to you, I do recommend just booking a call with me and we can talk more one-on-one that way. But more general questions I'll try to get to as we go along with this. Yeah, Facebook and Instagrams are usually big ones, that's for sure. I'm going to throw this link in now while I'm here. That's the booking call link. So if anybody wants to book a call during this or after for a later time, it goes right directly to my schedule. So it'll find you a spot that's available and I'll be able to one-on-one with you at any time. So I'll be putting that link up as I go along a lot, just so it doesn't get lost in the chat. Yeah, we got another minute or so. There's about 20 people so far and more coming in. So I'll let that kind of fill up a little bit more and we'll get going. Also, this will be recorded, and so that if anybody has to step out or anything or miss part of it, just reach out to me at any time and I can get you the link to watch the video of it after if you want to catch up on something or you missed something. So don't worry about that. We'll have it all recorded later on. All right, we're ready. It's 7 o'clock. Looks like there's about 23, 24 of us in here for now. So we'll get this rolling as we can. I'm Andy Goddard. Welcome to the first time homebuyers class. I'm going to take you through some mistakes that we found throughout the industry, the kind of more common ones and what to avoid. So again, like I said earlier, if you have any questions, feel free to throw it all in the chat. I'll try to get to them. If not, again, book a call with me. The booking link is in the chat. I will be throwing it up some more. And yeah, we'll get started here. So start off with, does any of this really resonate with anybody? Again, feel free to throw it in a chat. I know when it comes to buying a house, it is one of the biggest purchases a lot of people will make in their life. So I want to know if any of that resonates with you, yes or no. And what I'm going to do is by the end of this, I'm hoping to alleviate all those stresses for everybody. Because I remember when I was buying my first place, it was definitely is trying to stressful. So I like to make it as fun and easy as possible. So, and before we get, yeah, absolutely. Before we get rolling too, I'm going to do a little bit about me so you know exactly who it is I am. Just some reviews here. The one in green here is the first couple that I helped get out of their home. They were an older couple, so I helped them get out of their house into something more easy for them to work with, just because owning a house at that age was just too much for them. So that was fun. That was easy. The one below that, I helped her mom get out of her house into an assisted living facility. and that one was a lot more harder, but we got through it all, and we made it happen for her. So that was kind of a couple of good things. Again, about me, I am Andy Goddard. I am a realtor with eXp Realty. I started in real estate last year with Royal LePage Hallmark, helped many buyers and sellers during that time. And then I switched to eXp Realty in January of this year because it's one of the fastest growing and largest growing brokerages out there, which is now global. So I figured I want to grow with them. I live here in Warman with my wife, my son, my daughter, and 2 dogs. We moved here in 2016 from Medicine Hat, Alberta. And so I decided I'm going to service Saskatoon and the surrounding areas, and basically anywhere in Saskatchewan, but mostly the Saskatoon and the surrounding areas because that's where I call home. I had some pretty bad experiences with selling and buying a home when I lived in Medicine Hat. So I take a lot of those mistakes those realtors made, brought it to my business, so I make sure not to avoid those mistakes. So there are some horror stories out there, but I want to make buying your first home a fun experience and a relatively smooth experience. So to know who I am, I'm also going to throw these in the chat as well. There's a link tree. This is all of my business accounts and some of my personal ones, so you can see exactly it is who I am and who you're talking with. And that way you can follow me on anything, get some more information on the markets and just general knowledge of things. So again, if anybody wants a one-on-one that are coming in, this is my booking link as well. If you ever want to talk to me one-on-one after this, go to my booking link. It'll have any spaces available that I have during any day, and it'll fit you in there. That way we can have a chat and we're not going to be interrupted. So that's the booking link. I'll be putting it in as we go along. So we're going to get rolling with this here. I'm going to start with how to or what the main steps to the home buying process is. But just so you guys are aware, the first half of this is a lot to do with the financial side of things. So I do have a broker I am teamed up with, the mortgage broker. Her name is Robin Kraft. She is with us in the background. If you have any financial questions about this, throw in the chat. Robin will be able to answer those as she can. If there are more personal financial questions, again, book a call with us. We will be talking with you. Robin can help you out with anything that way. So yeah, I will. I'll have this recorded as well. They're calling me. This will be recorded, and I'll have the link to you. So no worries there. So here we go. So the home buying process. So the very first step I ask all my clients when they come to me is, are you pre-approved for a mortgage? That is always step number 1, because without pre-approval and mortgage approval, we just can't go shopping for a house unless you have straight cash, and that makes things a whole lot easier, but majority is with the mortgage. So I send you over to Robin or whoever else you have as a mortgage broker. We make sure you're approved. Once you're approved, you come back to me and we start the house hunt process. So what I do is I sit down with you personally, because I feel that's the best way. And we go over everything it is you need in a house, right? Do you want a house? Do you want a townhouse? Do you want a condo? How many bedrooms are you going to need? How many bathrooms are you going to need? Things like that, right? Do you need finished basements, garages, big backyard? Do you have a bunch of pets, right? The things you need to have in a home, we start with, and then we can go into the things that you want, right? So that way, you know, if it doesn't have it, but we find the perfect home, but it doesn't have something you want, it's not going to be a deal breaker, right? So the needs are always first. So once we figure that all out, we start with the home buying process, or the home house hunting process. So what I do is I go on MLS right away, like most do, and we look at what other realtors have available. And then I will look on off-market properties too, if we're having some issues finding a place, right? So I'll look at for sale by owners. People are selling their homes privately. I'll see if they're willing to, you know, how their house is, see if it's a perfect fit for us. And I'll also find rental properties that are an exact fit for you as well. And I'll see if, instead of them trying to rent it out, I will see if they'd be willing to sell it to us. Right? So it's things like that I can offer. Once we find you the right place that you really like, we take a look at these places and you want to make an offer. We go into the offer negotiation steps of things. We find the right price that's good for both us and the sellers. We agree on it, and we go into what is called a condition period, which is roughly about 2 weeks. And that is where we throw a bunch of conditions in there. Usually the main ones are home inspections and maybe gas line locates, little things like that. But 2 weeks gives us enough time to satisfy those conditions, because if any of those conditions aren't satisfied, we just walk away from the deal and we go find another one. So it gives us time to satisfy those deals. Plus, it also gives us time to get the financing finalized because we may be pre-approved and approved for so much money, but now they know exactly how much that you'll be needing to borrow and they can get that going. So again, 2-week process. So once that 2 weeks is up and everything is good and finalized, we lift conditions and the house is officially sold. And now we just wait for possession date. Now, possession date can be either right away if it's a vacant property, or it might be a little later depending on who's in there and how long it takes them to get out, right? So once possession date gets closer, you go back with the lawyer, all the financing is finalized, the lawyer transfers all the documents and all the titles, and then their realtor will release the keys to us. I will get the keys and I will meet you at your new home. That's kind of the home buying process in a quick little nutshell. I can go on forever with that. And if you want to know more, again, book a call with me and I'll discuss a lot more, but that is just it in a nutshell. That's a quick version of it. The nice thing is when you're buying a home with a realtor, you don't have to pay realtor fees to us. We do not get paid through the buying of a home. We get paid through the selling of a home. So our fees are incorporated into the sellers when they go to sell it. So there is no fee to pay us to help you buy a place. So that's also very nice. So we're going to get into some of the mistakes, like I mentioned before, of things to watch out for when it comes to buying a home. So again, Robin's on this call with us. She's a finance person. Any questions with financials, always throw in the chat and we will, and she'll be able to answer what she can. Again, if it's more specific, we'll try to book us a call and talk in more privately. So does anybody have any questions on this homeowner or how to buy a home, kind of the steps to that before we move on? Again, there is the booking link if anybody wants to book a call with me and set something up. So we're going to get into the mistakes here. Number one is ignoring the first-time home buyer incentive program. So the government of Canada brought out this incentive program to help people purchase their first homes. Now, has anybody out there heard of this incentive program that the government of Canada came out with? Oh, there we go. Thanks, guys. Some people have. Okay, so I'll get into a little bit of detail with it and explain why it's such a benefit to anybody. Oh yeah, I'll be sharing. I'll have a recording of this after. So if you ever have to leave for something, I'll have a recording and I'll get it up and loaded by tomorrow. I'll have that link for you. So no worries there. So what happened? So this is from 2019. So the government of Canada wants to help make home ownership more affordable. So this is an older number, but they use about $1.25 billion worth of money to help people with down payments. So what it is it's basically a shared equity mortgage. So the government of Canada has a shared investment in the value of your home, both the upside and the downside of it. So it's not interest bearing. There's no regular principal payments on the money they give you, and it's repayable anytime without a prepayment penalty. So what they do is basically they're going to give you an additional 5% down payment. When it comes to buying a home, you have to have 5% minimum for a down payment of your own, but the government of Canada is going to throw in another 5% for resale homes. They will go up to 10% for new builds. But majority of people that are buying their first home it's usually dealing with real estate or resale. So I don't really touch a lot of base on new builds, but it does happen. So just something to be aware of. So who is eligible for this? Well, any Canadian citizens, permanent residents, non-permanent residents, and anyone who is legally authorized to work in Canada. At least one homeowner must be a first-time home buyer, however. So if you are going in with your spouse, and your spouse has owned property before, but you haven't, you are eligible for it. The only thing you have to watch for is if you're going in with somebody, your combined annual income cannot exceed $120,000 per year, because the government of Canada feels that if you go over that $120,000 a year, that you don't need their help. So you have to watch for that as well. The combined insured mortgage and incentive amount can exceed 4 times your total qualified income, which means that you just can't take out 4 times what your annual income is, basically. The maximum down payment they're going to help you with cannot exceed 19.9%. So basically what happens with CMHC mortgages and insurance premiums, anything over 20% for a down payment, you don't have to pay these insurance premiums on. Anything less than 20% down, you have to pay insurance premiums on. So this program isn't going to help you get out of paying some insurance premiums, right? So if you put down 15%, they're only going to give you 4.9%, right? Does that make sense? There is another first-time home buyers plan that uses RRSPs as well. They're not exclusive and they can be used at the same time. So the RRSPs plan that they have is eligible for you to take out $35,000 per person. So if you go in with your spouse, you can technically take up to $70,000 out of your RRSPs. The difference with this plan compared to the other one is that within 2 years, you have to start paying these back once you take them out. But they can be paid back in installments, right? So you don't have to pay it back at one big lump sum. You can just pay off chunks at a time as long as you start paying them back within the first 2 years. But these RRSPs also have to have been in your account for 90 days. Anything less than 90 days, you aren't able to take them out. So just a couple things to watch out for. If you want to know more about that, reach out to us. We can explain it in a little more detail, but that's just something to help you out with a down payment. So again, how does this work for paying it off for the 5% down they're going to give you? So you pay it off when the home sells, so you can use the proceeds of your home sale to pay it back. Anytime in the first 25 years by way of one lump sum or mortgage refinancing, or by the end of your mortgage by way of one lump sum or small equity loans. So the money they're going to give you, they want it paid back in one large chunk. They don't want payments on it. And there's a reason for that, which we'll get into. So this is why they don't want it paid off in installments. This is how the investment works. So let's just say you bought a house at $400,000. 20 or 5% of that is $20,000. So they're going to give you an additional 5%, right? So they're going to invest $20,000 into the value of your home. So the start is $20,000. When you're ready to pay it off, they're going to look at what your value of your home is at the time. So let's say it rises to $500,000. Well, that $20,000 investment that they gave you now has risen to $25,000. So that's why they want it paid off in one large chunk, is because it's based off the value of your home at that time of paying it back. However, the downside to it as well is that if your home value falls below what you paid for, so let's say it's worth $300,000 now, you only have to pay back $15,000, like, right? So it kind of goes with the value of your home. So they are investing that your home increases in value, so their investment increases as well, right? That's kind of how it works. So now people might be thinking, why is this any value to us if we got to pay back a bunch of money at the end and more money than they've given us? And this is why. This is why it's kind of a point of value for you. So let's say, as an example, Bonnie buyer wants to buy a new home. So let's say, again, for $400,000 reference, it's easy math. You have your own down payment of $20,000. So you're going to have to borrow $380,000 for your home. Now the government of Canada is going to kick in that extra 5% of $20,000. So now you have $40,000 for a down payment. And now you only have to borrow $360,000. So now your monthly payments are now cheaper than it was when you were doing it on your own. So they're kind of here to help you get things rolling and cheaper payments off the start just to help you out. And I mentioned before, with insurance premiums at 20% and less, you have to pay these premiums. Well, at the bottom at 5% down payment, that's the minimum you have to pay. Your premiums are going to be at an all-time high. Once you go to 10% down, they drastically drop, 15% down even more, right, to 20% where there's none. So the more you put down, the less you have to pay in mortgage insurance premiums. So this is the benefit of it, is that you're borrowing less. So you're only having to pay a little bit less a month, and you don't have to pay as much for mortgage insurance premiums. That's where the benefit lies. Does that make sense to anybody, how this first-time home buyers incentive works? Did I lose anybody? Do I have to explain a little bit more on it? But that's just kind of how the benefit lies. Is there just less payments a month, less insurance premiums? Does anybody have any questions on that? And I'll throw this in there as well. If anybody wants to talk one-on-one about more of this, this is the booking link. Book a call with me. We'll talk more in depth of this. But then we're going to move on to the mortgage approval process. So a lot of mistakes are not getting approval, right? That's a big one. I've had that before where, they don't have approval for a mortgage, but they want to go house hunting. So the problem with that is, we just don't know how much you'd be approved for, what we can afford to buy. They can get pretty messy. So what they're going to do, just to be pre-approved at the start, is they're going to take a look at three things. That's your credit, your income, and your down payment. So for credit, they kind of want to see anywhere from 620 to 650 to start, right? That's pretty good credit, and anything over that's even better. But just because you're not at that, don't worry. There's things we can do to help you if you have a little less credit with that. So, but that's just kind of what they want to see at the start, is anywhere from 620 to 650. Then they're going to take a look at your income. So they're going to want to see about 2 years worth of income, right? Just to see how much it is you'd be able to afford, right? If you have a salary, if you have a letter stating how much you make on a salary, that's even better. They don't have to look 2 years prior. They know how much you're going to make in a year. Hourly salary doesn't count because hourly fluctuates too much, right? If you only work 6 hours a day instead of 8, or work 10-hour days instead of 8, right? You take a day off here, add a day here. It just fluctuates too much to really get a good idea of what you're going to make in a year. So that's why they need about 2 years worth of it. So they're going to look at your income as well. Now, if you've just gotten out of school, let's say, and you don't have 2 years worth of income, but you've gone into like a career path, like a doctor, lawyer, a vet, nurse, things like that, those bigger careers like that, they're not going to need that, because they know coming out of school, you're going to be making pretty good money. So they have kind of programs to help with that as well. So just a side note for anybody that's in that kind of position. Then third, they're going to look at your down payment. So down payment can affect how much you are approved for as well. You could be approved for $400,000, but if you only have $15,000 of a down payment saved up and be able to use, you're only going to qualify for $300,000. So that's something to watch out for as well. So there's 3 ways you can get a down payment. One is through savings of your own. The second one is through an RRSP program that we talked about, that first time home buyer one. And also the third one is you can get it as a gift from an immediate family member. Now it has to be a gift, because if you say you're going to borrow money from a family member to put a down payment down, they're going to look at that as you're borrowing more money, and it goes against your lending power. So it has to be a gift. Now, if you are, let's say, if you're going to get this as a gift, but you're planning on paying it back to them later, that's between you and them. The lenders don't need to know that. And I'm pretty sure Robin's going to laugh at me for that, but just kind of a side note, it has to be a gift in their eyes. So those are the 3 things they're going to look at. They're going to look at all that to make sure that you can afford what you can afford and how much you can afford. They're also going to look into your debt, make sure that you're good to go. But the nice thing about these pre-approvals is that they're reliable, right? We can now go house shopping knowing that how much you can afford. And it'll tell you the maximum that we can look at too as well. So it's good for negotiations in that way. Nice thing is it also holds your interest rate for around 90 to 120 days. That way you're kind of protected in case of any more rate changes that are happening, month to month, it seems, right? So if you're locked in at, we do it tomorrow, you're good for 90 to 120 days while we find you a place, right? So that's the nice thing about these pre-approvals. So that, again, your savings, we can shop with confidence, and it's priceless savings, because honestly, if we're shopping for something and we find you the perfect home, but then we find out a little later that it's kind of out of our price range, and now we have to go look at something that's a little less, it's just very discouraging, and it really puts a damper on the whole process, and it's hard to get motivated back into it. Again, I want to make this a smooth and fun process, and we don't want any of that to happen. So this is why pre-approvals and mortgage approvals is such an important thing. I've had questions too about cosigners. That is also a thing. You can use a cosigner if you need. So you can use a family member if you need, as long as they live in Canada, they have an income, and they still have to qualify as well, but that can be an option using a cosigner. If you want to still use a first-time home buyer's incentive with them, you can, as long as your cosigner and you don't exceed that $120,000 a year annual salary, like we talked about earlier. But there are risks to cosigners, right? The cosigners themselves are putting a risk out there that you're going to pay, you're going to pay what you're owing, and that they're not going to come after them for it. And it's just things we have to talk to them about, but it is options. They are committed to it as long as you can't be approved on a mortgage on your own. But once you can be approved on your own, we can go about getting them off the mortgage and title and things like that. And it just costs a couple $100 here or there. And but then they can be free and clear of that for cosigners. So that's kind of, if that's needed, that is an option as well. Connie, we'll talk about that a little bit. I'll get a hold of you after and we'll talk about that some more. And then, so that's the thing with cosigners. So one more thing about down payments that some people just might not know about either, but it's a very small group. So that's why I don't really mention it off the start, but the Métis Society has a program as well for first-time home buyers that if you are part of the Métis Society, they are giving up to $15,000 for a down payment. All right. So again, though, that's only if you're part of the Métis Society. So if anybody wants to know about this program, reach out to me. I will be able to get it to you, the information on it. But you'd also have to be approved like everything else. So they're going to pretty much do the same thing as a mortgage approval, just go through to make sure you're good for everything. But it works together. We could work with the mortgage broker and the Métis Society and get a down payment together as that. So there is an option there as well. So that's about it for the pre-approval process. Does anybody have any questions on mortgage approval, things like that? I know it's quite a lot, but there can be a lot that goes into it, but there are programs out there to make things happen as well. There's a New to Canada program as well to help out if you don't have 2 years worth of income statements, right? So there are programs out there. You just got to reach out and let us know your situation and we'll make sure what we can do to help for that. Nero, yeah, there's really any time that works, to be honest with you, for buying a home, but we definitely touch base on that a little later. But yeah, it's any time possible. Yeah, we'll talk some more about that too. I can maybe get you in touch with Rob and she can explain a bunch of the programs that be available for sure. Let's see, do I still, here, there's the booking link again, I guess. Or here it is again for everybody. So just so it doesn't get lost, but yeah, book a call with me if you have any more personal questions and I'll get to that as well. But if anybody has any questions on just the approval process, let me know. If not, we'll move on to the last financial side of things. All right, so the third mistake for financing is using your bank. Now, there's nothing wrong with using your bank, right? Everybody has a bank. I myself, I bank with RBC. I have checkings accounts, savings accounts, things like that. So there's nothing wrong with going to your bank because that's literally how it's been ingrained in us. If you need money, you go to your bank, right? So they do have their in-house mortgage brokers and things like that. So there's no issues with that. But they kind of want to sell their products and things like that. So we can at least shop around for options, that we'll touch on more after this. But there's some things I just want you to know when you go to use your bank. I'm going to throw 2 scenarios out here just to show you some things to watch out for. So the lady on the left, this is when COVID hit. So she owned her own business. So when COVID hit, her business took a massive hit. And so she ended up having to shut it down. She also had in her house a basement suite that she rented out to a tenant. But when the lockdowns hit, that tenant decided to move out and be with family. She also had a guest room upstairs that she rented out for Airbnb, but same thing, lockdowns hit and she lost that as well. So in a very, very short amount of time, she lost her main source of income, which was her business, her rental income, and her Airbnb income. So that a lot hit right away. So she felt she had no other option but to sell her house and to go start over again. So she could have deferred her payments like they were offering at the time, but she felt she was just going to get too far and far behind. So she was just going to sell her house. So she knew how much it was going to cost in realtor fees and the other fees and things like that. But what she didn't realize is that there was a $30,000 payout penalty attached to paying out her mortgage. So when you're relying on this proceeds of your house and you're already in enough trouble, you do not want to see something that big hit you. So that's something to watch out for. The second one on the other side there is this family was from Edmonton. So same kind of thing. But when the earthquakes in Haiti hit quite a few years ago, This family was already involved in some nonprofit organization there, but this time they were asked to help run an orphanage for them to get things back up and running, right? So they decided, you know what, they're going to help out. They're going to sell their home. They're going to help out this orphanage, and they're going to use the proceeds of the sale of their house to fund them living there for a year or two. Same thing. They knew how much it was going to cost, but they didn't realize there was going to be a $17,000 payout penalty attached to it. So again, when you're wanting to use the sale of your house to fund something and you don't know about that, that is a huge, huge hit to take. So it's things like that we have to watch out for. Again, I'm teamed up with Robin, and this is what we can do for you. Credit unions are better too, but again, same thing. They're like everything. You have to just watch what kind of mortgages you get into, right? I'm with a credit union myself, and I have no payout penalties, but that's, you know, it's something we can't guarantee, but it's something that we can watch out for. So again, teamed up with Robin, we have the ability to shop around, right? We don't just focus on this is ours and this is it. We shop around different rates and make sure that we can find you little to zero payout penalties. We can't guarantee zero, right? But we're going to try and find you the best deal for what you can get, right? Maybe you do go to your bank though. There's nothing wrong with that, but you could even say, look, our bank gave us this, you know, this rate at this or whatever. You can always come to Robin and just, you know, ask, hey, maybe can you get me a better deal, right? There's nothing wrong with going to your bank. So that's just kind of the benefit that we have. That's what we're trying to watch out for you. Again, I'm going to stress this a lot. I work for you. We work for you. We want to make sure everything is good for you and smooth and works right? This is a big investment, and we want to make sure your investment is secured and that your money is going to the right stuff. All right. That's what we offer for you. Now, does anybody have any questions on the financing side of things? Because this is kind of just the basics of it. And yeah, any questions, let us know. Again, same thing. I'll throw this in here as well. If anybody wants to get a hold of me or get a hold of Robin, go to here. Again, this is my booking link, and you'll be able to. The chat, maybe Robin can touch more on the child tax benefits as well. I think I've been asked that before, but I'd always send to Robin because I'm not familiar with it. So we are just able to shop around to find from different lenders, right? I'm just, you know, if you go to a bank, they're going to usually try to sell their product, whereas, you know, you come to Robin, she's able to shop around to different lenders and find out different payout penalties and things like that, right? That's just kind of the things we can offer. Not saying that we are able to 100% of the time find a better rate. You know, sometimes they do have a better rate, but it all depends on your individual situations and things like that. So again, book a call with us and we can definitely help you find that out. Any other questions on that, or else we get into the real estate side of things? Okay, so this will be more for going directly to a builder, right? I usually like to touch on resale homes mostly, but I have to just mention some things with buying directly from a builder. So there's, you know, there's nothing wrong with going directly to a builder to look for a home. I just want to mention that builders, again, kind of like banks, are so focused on the one side of theirs, like their own product, right? So when you go to a builder and say, you know, they have a nice show home up and you want to buy theirs, they're going to just show you that house or whatever else they are building at the time. Whereas if you bring a realtor with you like myself, we can go and we can check out builder A, builder B, builder C, and make sure we find the right fit for you, right? Again, I'm here to work for you. I'm here for you every step of the way. Whereas sometimes builders just might not have your best interest at heart, right? They're there again to sell their one product and one product alone, right? There's no difference in price when it comes to buying from a builder. If you go to a new build compared to bringing a realtor with you, there's no change in price. with a real, they know that realtors sell a lot of their homes for them, so they already build our fees, right into the purchase price. So there is no difference in price when it comes to buying from them without bringing me. But at least when you bring a realtor along, like myself, we can at least discuss a lot of the options, because they're going to throw options like basement packages, garage packages, things like that, and we can at least discuss them and say, you know what, that's actually a really good deal. It might not be that bad, or this one has a better package over here, or we may be able to do this for a little bit cheaper with the right contractor, things like that we can bring to the table for that kind of knowledge. As well, I also have the knowledge of which builders are the good ones and which ones are the ones to avoid. Now, again, this is a recorded webinar, and so I'm not going to mention any names because I really don't need that phone call by the end of this. But just that's some knowledge that I can bring with you is just having your back and making sure your investment is going to the right place, right? And that we have options to look at. So you gain so much knowledge by bringing a realtor with me, or with you, sorry. If you want to go by yourself, again, that's no problem, but you're just leaving a lot of knowledge sitting on the table. Right. So again, nothing wrong with going to a new build. I just have to touch base on this a little bit, but I'm always going to watch out for your best interest as we do this. Any questions on new builds? Like I said, I don't touch a lot on it, but. Okay, so one of the big things, this is one of my favorite ones to talk about, is skipping home inspections. So can anybody tell me, or does anybody know how much a home inspection is roughly in Saskatoon, just the average price of one? Good guesses, yeah. It's literally in between $400 and $500 for it. Yeah, depends on your home inspector, but that's an average for I'd say like a 1,000 some square foot home, right? That's average. So it is a bit, some people can say it is a bit much for a home inspection, but I'll explain a lot of reasons why it is such a good investment. Now, it doesn't have to be done. You do not have to do a home inspection, but I always highly, highly, highly recommend getting a home inspection. It's such a big book of knowledge for your home, and especially when you're investing a lot of money into this, it is worth it. I'll use my own house actually as an example, just to show why it's such a good thing. Like I said, I moved here in 2016. Our house was built in 2012, so it was only 4 years old. I had a home inspection done. They found in the upstairs bathroom our bedroom ensuite bathroom, there was a leak in the shower, and it was leaking from the shower down into our main bathroom on the main floor. Not major, there was a little bit of, it just drips a little bit, right? But that little bit of drip can build into something bigger if we didn't catch that. And all it took was just a little bit of caulking by the shower to fix it. But if we hadn't gotten this home inspection, that could have been so much water damage above our bathroom in the main floor that we could have been out a ton of money, right? When we go to look at houses, we can only see what we can see that's available to us, right? But home inspectors can see inside of walls. They can see if there's any insulation missing. They can see in the attics. They can see mold and moisture. And so it's such a big book of knowledge. And what they're going to do is they're going to look at all your mechanical of your house. So your furnace, your hot water heater, your air conditioners. They're going to look at every appliance in your house. They're going to look at your plumbing and your electrical. Like there's nothing that these guys can miss, right? So it is such a value to have this. And it also goes into the negotiations, and it goes in as a condition. So this acts like a get out of jail free card if it's a bad inspection, right? Those don't happen very often, but it's just something to be aware of, right? But let's just say, for an example, we do a home inspection on a home we really like, but the furnace is on its way out, and let's just say it's going to cost $5,000 to fix. Well, then I can go back into the negotiation with the seller and say, look, we know that this furnace is on its way out, so we would like you to fix it before we move in, or we would like $5,000 off the purchase price so we can fix that. Or if it's really, really bad, we can just simply say, you know what, this is too much to fix. This is going to be too much of a headache. We want out. We don't like this, and we're out, and we move on, and there's no money lost. So it's such a nice thing. Again, conditions are so huge when it comes to making an offer, and this is one of the best ones to have. For home inspections there, Connie, I know quite a few, right? I always have my preferred ones, but I know a few of them, but I've called them and they're anywhere from $425 to $500, but they are really, really good. I've used them for multiple homes, and literally they don't miss a thing. It's hours that they spend in there. So they really do a thorough job. It's crazy and worth the money, right? Especially when you're buying this big investment. It's just like buying a car, right? They're going to tell you what you need to do to maintain it. And so it's not a big scary book of what's wrong with your house. It's just basic little things that'll be like, just, keep an eye on this, or, maybe do this really quick, and it's going to save your stuff for a long time. Like I didn't have a downspout on the top of my second level roof there. And they said, just put an extension on it and it will save your shingles for, a couple more years, right? Just little maintenance tips like that. So it's great for that, but it also shows you the big things in a house, right? So even if the house is built in the 20s or built a year ago, I highly recommend getting a home inspection when it comes to buying a home. Does anybody have any more questions on home inspections? Yeah, Carla, I can get back to you on that again. I'm going to throw this in here too. So here it is again. If you want to know more about it, just book a call with me. We can talk more about it. But so for the home inspection, again, once we make the offer on a house and it's agreed upon offer, this is put into the offer. So we'll say, let's say we want to buy the house for $300,000, but I want a home inspection and we want, X other things that we want. It's right in there. They sign off saying, yeah, we approve your offer and home inspection. And then we do that during the condition period. It's all part of that little 2-week window of condition periods. And this is what that is. So then it gives us time to, so then I'll go and I'll book, you let me know, I can give you a list of home inspectors, pick one, I get a hold of him, he'll go in and he'll do the home inspection, and then we'll meet the home inspector after he's done, and he'll walk through the entire house with us, with me and you, and we'll look over. And then, if we like everything, we're good, we'll lift that condition. If not, we can go back in negotiations and talk more to get things fixed, that if it needs to be fixed, right? So that's part of the whole home inspection process and the condition part of things. It's nice that we can get that walk through the house and that he can show you everything, so you know exactly what it is he's talking about. Then we get a massive detailed email with the entire package to read out. No, the home inspections are always done by us because we need to know. They can do theirs. They may have had one done, I guess they can do that, and so they'd send, but then we'd ask them to send it to us, and then we'd be able to read over it. And then whoever did it, I can even call them and talk to them directly, because these home inspectors, they are licensed, right? You have to use a licensed home inspector. So they're not, generally not going to lie to you, right? They're going to lose their license, just like I lose my license if I do anything wrong, right? So it's always, majority of the time, like I want to say 99% of the time, it's the buyer that does a home inspection. I have encountered this before. Just a quick touch on it. I did a home inspection and ended up that the client that I did the home inspection with, his financing fell through, so we weren't able to use it, but a different buyer came in and they were able to purchase that home inspection for less. Things like that we can do, but that's kind of just, that's a different note. But usually it's always the buyers that do the home inspection. Does anybody else have any questions on the home inspection part? Because it could, yeah, like I said, with that water damage, it could cost a lot of money, but it's such a valuable investment on a big investment that you're doing, right? $400 to $500 is nothing compared to $300,000. Like, are you talking about the property condition exposure statement? Yeah, there could be a variety of reasons why they don't. Some of the more common one is they just haven't lived in there. Maybe it was a rental property and it's just they don't know about it, or some just simply just don't want to. It is entirely mandatory, right? There's just, most people, some people just feel like they don't need to fill it out. That's what home inspections are for, which is fine, right? But yeah, that's kind of the main reasons why some don't. Majority of the one is because it's a rental property. Does that make sense? And yeah, that property condition disclosure statement. So that's kind of like, it's not really a home inspection in a sense. It's just the seller has a checklist of things about the house that he can check off and say are good and bad, but that's just their knowledge of it, right? And they can write in notes in there of what happened. Like maybe there's a flood a year ago, but it was all covered under insurance and it's fixed properly and things like that. They'll put that in there too. But it just, that's again off of their opinion of the house, what they know of the house, their personal knowledge of it. But a home inspection, I would never replace a home inspection with these property condition disclosure statements, because that is again just the seller telling you about the house. But we want a qualified professional to go in there to actually look at it and confirm all of that. It is not necessary. As I mentioned before, this is not a mandatory thing. You do not have to do these. I just recommend you do them. You don't, new houses are a little different, right? If it's a new build, you don't really need to have a home inspection, right? If you want one, you can, but brand new, you already have the home warranty on there, right? So, but again, it's just, that comes down to personal preference. If you like to do it yourself, just if you don't trust the builder or something like that. But yeah, I'd say anything that's off the new home warranty, always highly recommend a home inspection. And yeah, Robin, you're correct. You will need an appraisal on that as well. Hey, if there's any more questions on home inspections, let me know. If not, we'll move on to kind of the last little mistake that people make. That's not really with houses, but more with the condos, right? Townhouses, condos, things like that. And that's skipping the condo review document. Now, we call this an estoppel package or a Schedule C. Those are the common words we use, but it is another great book of knowledge. This thing is just like the home inspection in a sense, where it goes into the conditions. Now, the difference between this one and the home inspection is that this one is, you don't have to pay for it, right? This is free, but it is mandatory when it comes to buying a condo, right? So when we do write up an offer, the Schedule C is mandatory in these offers. So the seller's agent will have to give that to us. And this thing is great because it tells you everything about the condo building itself, not necessarily your unit, but about everything in the whole condo. Like, it covers a ton of stuff. So again, though, I know what's in these things, but I'm not qualified to explain a lot of it. So when we get these, I always give it to you, and I highly recommend you take it to your lawyer, because the lawyers can look into a ton of that stuff. It is very thick, like it is a ton of pages. So the lawyers will be able to let you know about things. And so things that it's in there, one of the main things is like the reserve fund. So the reserve fund is the amount of money that the condo corporation has in savings in order to fix the actual condo building itself, not your unit, but the building. So an example of that would be like a condo with 20 units in it, and they have to fix the roof, and the roof is going to cost, let's say, $100,000 to fix, but there's no money in the reserve fund. If there's not enough money to cover it, they're going to come to every condo owner and ask them to pay for a portion of it out of their pocket. So $100,000, they're going to come at you for $5,000, and they're going to want that to fix the condo. So that's why it's important to find out how much is in the reserve fund, right? But it'll also tell you what has been fixed with the condo, what needs to be fixed, and that way the lawyer can look and see that they have enough money to fix whatever needs to be fixed, right? So it's so important to see this. It'll also tell you everything about condo fees, any restrictions on pets in your unit, if they have any. It'll tell you any bylaws that are in with the condos. It'll tell you how many parking spaces you have that are attached to your unit, if they're electrified or not. It tells you absolutely everything there is to know about your condo. So it is good to know what's in this, and why it could save you a ton of money if you don't know that things need to be fixed and there was no money for it, things like that. As an example, I had a client, we went and looked at a condo, and there was some issues with the balcony. So it was on the 3rd floor. So the balcony, the wood was starting to rot away, and so kind of dangerous that way. And the railing was rotting away as well. It was starting to rust and break, and it was just not in good shape at all. So he was very concerned about that. So we looked into the Schedule C, and it says, you know what, we are aware of these balconies, that they're in rough shape. So within a year or two, we're going to start by the worst balcony and fix them all the way until they are completely replaced and updated. And when there is enough money in the reserve fund to cover it, so there is no cost to the condo owners to have to pitch in. So he was fine with that. We were good knowing that this is going to be replaced and not out of pocket. Then there was a bylaw in that same condo unit saying that you are not allowed to replace the flooring in there with anything but carpet. So I guess when they sold these condos individually, because it used to be an apartment building, everybody that bought these condos ripped the flooring out and put in nice laminate to really update it and make it look good. But they realized that getting rid of the carpet, you added more noise, right? More walking sounds, right? It was just very loud. So a lot of people complained. So they brought in a bylaw saying that if you are to replace the flooring in the main living area of your condo, it has to be carpet. Well, my client at the time did not like carpet at all. He wanted to actually rip the carpet out of the bedrooms and replace it. But now he knows that he couldn't if he wanted to. However, we looked at it and realized the flooring was fine. It was in good shape and he was okay with it. And, he really, really liked the condo. So he was okay with that. But if he skipped this review, he wouldn't have known that the balcony was going to be fixed, not out of pocket. He wouldn't have known that he couldn't even renovate it the way he wanted to, right? Now, I'm not saying all condos are the same. Every condo is so unique, right? We could look at a condo in this building, but the building next door to it could have an entirely different set of bylaws and regulations and things like that, right? So it's very, very important to read these and get them certified with the lawyer to make sure that everything is good that way. So it's very, very good to read these. Yeah, and so we want to make sure when you get into your condo that you're able to do what you want with it, because you're spending a lot of money to get into these, and we want to make sure you can have it the way you want it. So we need to make sure you know what the bylaws are on it. So again, same thing. If we get into this, we read the condo review and realize we don't like something in there, we can't renovate the way we want to, we can simply say this is not satisfactory to us in the conditions. We don't want this anymore. We're going to find a different place and we're out, and we don't have to worry about losing out on anything. So again, another get out of jail free card with these estoppel packages. So again, does anybody have any questions with the condo review document at all? Okay, so that pretty much takes me through all the mistakes that we have. Hopefully I answered a lot of questions that people had coming into this. Hopefully you feel a little better about the home buying process. Again, we have some time still here, so feel free to ask away. This is pretty much a Q&A session now. I can answer anything that anybody has. I'm going to put in here more of my information to get a hold of me directly. So this is what it's going to look like. If you go to book a call, it'll just have all my times in there. And so here is everything of mine. Let me just copy this real quick. We get paid. So technically our realtor fees come out of the sale of the home. So the sellers, when they go to sell their home, that's where the commission comes from. So buying a home, you don't have to pay for any fees or anything like that with us. It's just when you go to sell your home is where the realtor fees come in, right? So that's, but yeah, if we buy a home from you, yeah, you don't have to cover, but that's how we get paid, is by both buying and selling. But absolutely. So I put in the chat there the booking link for me. There's also my email address. There's also my direct cell number and my link tree, again, that has all my information. The number that has been texting everybody, that number is kind of an automated system. So I can sometimes see, what you've sent me a message, but it'll take me a little bit to get back to you. Because unless I'm sitting in front of my computer, I don't know that somebody messaged that number. So that is my direct line, that if you need to text me, I'll be able to see it right away instead of waiting for me to get on the computer. Yes. So using a realtor is absolutely free for you in that process, because you don't pay a fee for me at all, right? So there's no realtor fees when it comes to buying a home, just when you go to sell the home, right? So that's why it's so good. Right? I'll meet with you at any time, right? Sit down with you, but until we actually buy you something, I don't get paid. But that's all part of the process, right? But again, for you, you don't have to pay for anything. So for self-employed, that's That's a bit harder, but Robin would be definitely able to help you out with that. So if you want to reach out to us, because there's a lot that goes into it, right? Depending on what kind of self-employment, right? So Robin would be able to help you figure that out. So if you want, again, my stuff's up there. Here, let me get this for you again. If you want. There we go. I don't know why I keep switching to that, but here, we'll go with that. Again, book a call with us. We can talk so much about the what happened for self-employment and how we can do things like that. For the inspection, you unless you are a certified home inspector, you can't do it yourself. Unfortunately, I've had people ask that a lot. You know, maybe they have a friend that's in construction, or just a buddy that knows what they do with houses. But sorry, I should rephrase that. You can have them look at it, for sure you can. If it's for free or whatever, they can. The only thing I can't do with that then is if there's issues with the home, like let's say, again, for example, the furnace is ready to go out, and you just, I cannot take that into negotiations again and say, look, we found out the furnace is going to go, we want less off the home price, or we want you to fix it before we go. Because if I go in there with negotiations, says, yeah, my client brought their buddy and they said that the furnace is ready to go, it's not very reliable source of information, right? So it has to be from a certified inspector for me to bring it to negotiations. If you just want to know about the house itself and you're not worried about that part, then yeah, by all means, you can use a friend and we can just book a time to get in there to look at it. But yeah, to bring it into negotiations, they have to be certified. Yes, there is. I believe there's a bit of a different interest rate, but again, Robin would have to be in touch with you on that one, Daniel. I'm not sure. It depends on how much. Yeah, there's a lot that goes into that I'm not 100% sure on. So again, yeah, feel free to get in touch with us, and we can figure that out for you as well. Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, definitely want to find out. Like, there is benefit to it, right? Even though you're not ready for a few months, at least you have an idea, because maybe there's something you can do a little extra that would get you up there when you're ready to actually buy, right? So the only thing that you wouldn't be really covered for is that interest rate fluctuation that I talked about, right? So you could be qualified now, but let's say in 4 months now, the interest rates are going to be a lot different, right? You just have to go back and you might have a different rate at that time. But you can at least find out now, and it would tell you how close you are, roughly what you would know that you'd be able to afford at the time, right? It's never not a bad idea, right? Because if there's, you have time, like I said, 6 months, you have time, you definitely have time to fix something or add something to it, right? So yeah, there's no problem with doing it now. Off the top of my head, no, just because it's for pros and cons, there's so much that goes into the mortgage approval, and it's so individualized that it's hard to say, this would be a perfect thing for this person, but not even close for this person, right? There's just so much that goes into it. But that's why I just say, like I said, there's nothing wrong with going to your bank, right? But I always just say, if see what they give you for a rate, and maybe we be able to beat that or match it, or maybe they're just have a really better deal. It happens too, right? So sometimes it is just a simple fact of saying, your bank is offering you a really good program. There's not much we can help you with extra than that. So by all means, stay what you're doing. But yeah, it's just so individualized. It's hard to say exactly more pros and cons than that. Again, if anybody wants to get in touch for more and just more personalized stuff, we can definitely go book a call, and we can talk more about it. Anybody else have any more questions? Feel free, throw it out. We have some time still. But yeah, that's pretty much the whole webinar there in itself. So yeah, if anybody has any comments, any questions, if not, I really appreciate everybody showing up to this. Hopefully I gave you some knowledge into the whole home buying process, because I know it can be a lot. And sometimes going into a blind can be a really big a big headache. And so that's what I'm trying to do, is alleviate that headache and make sure it's a smooth and easy process. So again, if I can answer anything else for anybody, feel free to throw it out there. If not, then I still have time, so I'll probably just end up rambling on. Thanks, Jax. Yeah, we'll be in touch a little later on. Uh, yeah, I was going to talk to you a little later about some things, so we'll be in touch. Yeah, I like to. I'll let everybody know that the issues that arose when I bought my first house, just so people have an idea of what I'm taking into my business compared to those realtors. The one guy that I was referred to by a friend, he helped me buy my house, and it pretty much was down to the point that we found the house ourselves, and he just kind of showed up to write the contract, which is what I don't like to do. You're welcome. Thank you for showing up. Hopefully I answered a lot of questions for you. And so anyways, I bought it with him. He was a nice guy, nice enough guy, but yeah, I just felt I made it really easy for him. But when we went to sell it, he was no longer in real estate anymore. So he referred me to his friend, who was also ready to retire. But this guy was an old farmer realtor. So he was used to just meeting up with clients on the farm, talking over coffee and selling the house over a long process. But I needed to sell my house like fast. I wanted to get out and get over to here, and it would need to be a faster process. So it was all, he didn't really listen to a lot of what I had to say. He was very slow at it. He was very old school, because this was in 2016 and 2015 at the time. But still, internet was big and digital photos were big. But he took one picture of my house, the outside, and he put it up as a listing, and that was it. He just said, here's a house. And he was so used to the way he used to advertise was in a paper with one picture. So I ended up taking all the photos myself and uploading them, and I pretty much wrote the description for my house and everything. And he just wasn't very communicative when it came to doing open houses, and when there was people wanting to show the house. Sometimes he would tell us that there's a showing, so we'd pack up everything and leave for an hour or two, and then come back and realize there wasn't a showing because he forgot to tell us. Same thing with the open house. We left on Saturday all day because he said it was going to be an all-day process. And yeah, and we ended up leaving for the day, and he ended up saying he forgot to advertise for it and then never put it out there so yeah, it was not very good. So it's things like that I'm bringing into my business, that know it's communication is key. So just so you guys are aware. Thanks, Daniel. Absolutely. Hope to be in touch a little later on, and hopefully I answered a lot of things for you. So, but yeah, that's that's a huge thing when it comes down to this whole process, is communication. Like, we're constantly in contact, making sure that we know exactly what it is you need and you want. What are you doing by schools, things like that. Like, it's so important. That's why I like to sit down face to face and just make sure we get everything. If you have kids, right, it's important that we get them a place that's suitable for the kids to grow in, right? It's one thing to buy a house just to have a house, and maybe just you and your partner, or maybe it's just you, but we want to make sure that you can grow into the house as well, right? So if you're planning on getting married or planning on having kids down the road, we want to make sure you find a health that's good for you now, but also that you're able to grow into, and then eventually sometime get out of if you need to. Or it could be your forever home, right? It all depends on your situation. So that's kind of that's why I like to sit down personally and make sure we find you the right thing. So yeah, there's still about 22 of us on here. So yeah, feel free to throw anything out there. If anybody has any comments about it, or what they think of the whole real estate thing right now, what their plans are going forward, right? Feel free. We got lots of time. So absolutely. Thank you for showing up. Appreciate it. Again, here's everything. Yeah, just give me here, Fex, just give me I want to say 15 minutes or so, and then you should be able to call. I just want to make sure everybody here is I've got everybody, and then we can talk. Yeah, not a problem. Again, thanks everybody for coming out. It's just after 8 now, so enjoy the rest of your evening. I know it was a nice day out there today finally, but I think we're getting some more nasty rain and snow coming in, so absolutely. Yeah, no worries. Thank you. Thanks, Dan. Yeah, thanks again, Robin. I appreciate this as always. We will be in touch for sure right away. But yeah, if anybody needs any mortgage questions or wants to find out if they're approved, get a hold of me and I'll get you in touch with Robin. She is fantastic. So yeah, enjoy, Robin. Thanks again. We'll be in touch. Nice thing too is that the spring market's going to be hitting right away. So things are going to be moving. There's going to be so many houses coming up and down and all over the place. It's going to be crazy. So it's a good time to get into it when things are moving. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a crazy few months. That's for sure. And now it's actually nice out. It's going to be amazing. But yeah, I also recommend, right, if you're not even sure about getting mortgage approval yet, just it's so easy. Just reach out, find out, maybe you are closer than you thought, right? Because you have a lot of people that way too that just think they're not ready for it or they're not even close, but then they find out, oh wow, they actually, they are, right? So then, you may not have to jump right now, but it's just good to know. And then again, it covers you because interest rates are going to be going up again. It's just, it's nice to get locked in to make sure you're covered for now. But yeah, so if you want to know, reach out. We'll get that sorted out for you. So. Absolutely, Cassie. Yeah, just you got my stuff. Just let me know when it's good for you, and we'll talk soon. Don't worry. I'll fit you in. No worries. Hey, well, there's another, 7 of us or so left. So if anybody else has anything, if not, again, thanks again for being here. I appreciate it, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your night and week, and hopefully talk soon. Fex, just give me about 8:15. Give me a call on that my personal number here. I'll put it in again. Just give me a shout on that at 8:15 here, and then we'll talk. Okay, sounds good. I will be out of here. Enjoy the rest of your night, everybody. Okay, see ya.